Hey folks, we're on the Susquehanna River today with David, Juan, and Jake. And it's 22 degrees and the river behind us hasn't chunked up with ice yet, so it's at least 10 degrees warmer. I don't know how much more. And
it's like bath water right now.
Oh, it's chilly. But yeah, we're getting ready for, you guys ready for swim practice? We're going to cover something that is a really critical thing. If you're out here kayak fishing, I'd say anytime the water temperature is below 60 degrees, you gotta know how to do this one critical thing, and that is being able to get back in your boat if you flip out of it. You ready?
Oh yeah. It's beautiful.
I'm not.
We're swimming.
So the reason that we're filming this and showing you folks how to practice reboarding your kayak after you flipped it is that every year we find out about kayak anglers who have expired on the water, and usually when they find the body, it's very close to the kayak. The kayak's flipped, and you got to just think, the last couple minutes of their life had to be very terrifying and frustrating for them, trying to do something that they've never practiced, and the only way that you'll be proficient at it is by practicing it. The other part of that is that you need to have the proper gear. I'm putting on my dry suit. You already have yours on, and go ahead and let us know the other key critical pieces of equipment that folks need to have on if they're kayak fishing when it's cold.
When I'm paddling when it's cold, when I'm kayak fishing when it's cold, I like to use like a 3-layer system. First layer would be some kind of wicking material. Like under here I have a wool core on, which wicks. It's pretty thin, but still kind of insulation. It wicks away the sweat and so forth when I'm paddling, right? Because an angler, you're going to go from paddling and maybe working up the sweat to sitting still and fishing. And so you need to have that first wicking layer closest to your skin. Then the second layer I have is what's called the warmth layer. And that's the layer where you're going to get a little bit thicker, insulating kind of material. Maybe it's fleece. Maybe it's one of the more the newer materials you can get, different clothing. But above that, then obviously is the weather layer, which is the dry suit, which locks the water out. So you've got 3 layers there. You got the wicking layer, the warmth layer, and then you have the weather layer, which is blocking out basically the dry suit that keeps the water off you.
Additionally, we have the life jacket. It really should go without saying. One thing that I will say is that, we're out here on a 22-degree day. I've been out here when it's sunny and 76 in the fall, and the water temperature is 61. And at 61, I've been in this without all of this on there. I actually was going after an anchor that got stuck, and I got in, and even at 61 degrees, you can't help but to start hyperventilating. Your body, as soon as your core part of your body hits that water, you start that hyperventilating. And, I had to regulate that before I went down and got it. But it's, the hypothermia can set in a lot sooner than you would think. So
I've had guys in July in cold rain where hypothermia starts to set in.
Right. So
it's possible any time of the year. The marker I use for water when it's time to put on my cold weather gear would be when the air temperature, generally speaking, when the air temperature and the water temperature combined are under 120 degrees, or when the water temperatures themselves are is under 60 degrees. So once you start getting 50-degree water, definitely 40-degree water, you're going to need to have some kind of protection.
So say you do fall in and you have the proper gear on, even with that, you want to make sure that you have a dry bag. Let's take a look at the contents of my dry bag. Basically, anything that gets wet, your hat, you shouldn't get anything wet on the inside, but you just make sure. Say you didn't zip the zipper all the way and you get some water in, you want to make sure that you have extra layers of fleece I really have one of everything. I got underwear in here. I got socks. I got, I got everything that I need to recover and get completely dry. And I usually carry extra for other people. That's the biggest thing. The other thing that I carry in here is a couple pieces of cardboard, and really that shields my fire building, shields, and it can also fan a developing fire. And then I have a fire starting kit. Fire starting kit is something that can really save you, and I have 3 different ways. I got matches, I got a regular Bic lighter in there, and my favorite is the Zippo. The reason why I like a Zippo lighter is because it requires very little in the way of finger dexterity to really get going. I mean, you just, of course now it's not working for him, but it holds a flame very easily, and gets going. That is critical, having an easy way to start a fire. So, all right, well, I can't delay it anymore. It's time for swim practice. You ready?
Oh yeah, man.
Let's get in the water. I'm not.
I think we should just want to swim to the other side. Start like as warm up.
No. So one quick note on proper PFD fitting. You want to make sure that if you go in and your arms go up, arms up, Juan, that this doesn't happen. When this happens, you're not operating real good. You got to see what you're doing to reboard, and if the PFD is blocking your vision or ability to climb up into your boat and shove it under you, it's not good. So what we're going to do is to just snug this down. Arms up again, Juan. I'm going to tighten this around your midsection. You don't want to restrict your breathing, but at the same time, you want to make sure that it is snug enough that it's not going anywhere. All right, arms up, Juan. That's good. All right, we're ready. All right, so we had to go in search of deeper water. You want to have deeper water when you practice this, so you don't bump your head. The other thing is that you want deeper water so that you're not using the bottom to springboard up into your boat. So, you may flip in deeper water, you may be lucky and flip in shallow water, but you just don't know. So you got to practice, in deep water so that you know the mechanics of doing it. So, without further ado, here goes. Alright.
Now that was good. Let's try it again with more gear. Let's make it more realistic. Woo! It's cold.
David. All right, thanks for your help, guys. One thing I do want to note, you always want to have an area right here that's fairly clean so that you can hop up into this. If I had this rod holder back some, or if I had the anchor wizard in the way, or the throttle for the Torpedo, if you have anything in the way, I got a little bit in the way here, but I think I can still clear this. So you definitely want to have one side of your side rail open so that you can basically perform the reboarding process, which is to, and I'll show you what it is. You get to the boat, you reach across it, and then as hard as you can, you shove it up underneath your belt buckle area, your waist area, and then you rotate, sit up, and you go. That's it. And you can't do it if you have too much stuff here. All right, let's see how this goes with more gear. I got some rod holders up front, an extra cup holder. I got my Visi Carbon Pro. I got a black pack and some AR tubes. A lot more stuff, and the motor. A lot more stuff. It's much closer to how I'd normally have this boat outfitted, and that's going to be a lot more resistance when I try to flip it back over. So it does take a lot more effort that way. I know that Jake has a story to tell us in a little bit about how difficult that can be. Let's see how I do with this one. Got it. That took a little more effort, but I feel secure. If I need to do it again, I know what that feels like. And I can do it in deep water, because I didn't touch the bottom. Woo! That was cold. All right, I mentioned it before, Jake. You've had a real life experience out there on the water, not expecting to flip, and it happened. You had all your gear with you.
I was fully loaded.
Tell me how that went.
I was fishing a KA tournament in the Youghiogheny River in 2018, and I was in 17 feet of water, and I was throwing a lure, and I dropped a whopper plopper out the side of my boat. So I reached for it, and I went too quick, too far, all at the same time, and by the time I knew it, I was upside down. I was tangled in my paddle leash that I since got rid of, and I had everything was just upside down. 175 pounds worth of kayaking gear, all my rods, everything. I panicked because I was I was underwater, but I quickly got over that, and I reached for my knife that I keep right here, cut the paddle leash, and then I got out from underneath my kayak. I got some air, figured out what I was going to do, but then I was in 17 feet of water, and I was trying to flip the boat back over, but it was just incredibly tough. I had a Predator PDL without the PDL in it, but it's still a 90-some pound boat with all that gear. So I went to the back, and I essentially used my river stick to kind of leverage it, and I was able to flip the boat back upright, and then after that I just went over and climbed up in it like you said.
Yep. You figure it out in the moment, but sometimes people can't. Some people, like you said, you panic a little bit and you're not thinking straight. And that's why it's critical to practice this, so that when it happens and it's an accident that just, all of a sudden you're in the middle of it, you've been there before, and you can do it. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely panicked because my feet were tangled, and I couldn't get out from underneath my boat. And then it wasn't until after that I watched Juan's video about not having leashes on your boat.
Yep.
So,
well, I'm glad you got back on it, and we're on your way.
Still here.
Yep. Good deal.
Along the lines of what Jake was talking about with his boat and being, deep water and falling out and not being able to flip the boat back over, one of the things you want to think about in cold water is you want to minimize your time that you might be in the water. That could probably mean looking at the gear you're taking, lighten up your boat, and also the other thing is think about things in your boat like lines and so forth that could create loops that could tangle you, as Jake told his story. So kind of eliminate the weight that you don't need, and also eliminate any loops, leashes, and things like that can create a situation where you can't get back in your boat fast enough.
Okay. Well, in summary, let's just go over the critical parts of this. know how to save your own life. Know how to reboard by practicing reboarding. Have the correct gear, the right PFD, the right dry suit, and then having a dry bag with fire starting materials and dry clothing. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's about it. I think we summed it up pretty nicely.
Cool. Hopefully we've helped save a few kayak anglers.